For any fad diet, like the whole eat this, not that approach, they don't change your habits. It doesn't change how you look at food. The macros approach is one that can be maintained for life while creating a lifelong satisfying relationship with food. Hey, what's up YouTube? It's Christine with Gauge Girl Training, an online meal planning and coaching service. I'm a food scientist and chemical engineer by training, and today I'm going to answer the question, what are macros? So let's get started. If you watched my last video, the introduction to macros approach and flexible dieting, you will definitely want to watch that if you haven't already, just to get a broad overview about what the macros approach is all about. But in this video specifically today, I'm going to talk about what are macros. So the practice of counting macros has been popular and used by bodybuilders for decades, but has recently gained popularity among the general public because it's becoming more socially acceptable and a more desirous thing to want to look fit. Strong is the new sexy. All this, that, the other. Everybody wants to look fit and muscular, and we are taking a nod from the bodybuilding era and learning from that, the knowledge that they have applied to nutrition. And it's really important to understand that all food is comprised of three basic building blocks and that make up the caloric content of food. So when it comes to macros, that's essentially what they are. It is the building blocks that make up the caloric content of food. There is protein, carbs, and fat, and these are commonly referred to as macros or macronutrients. And instead of looking at food in black and white or good or bad, it's a new lens. It's a new way to look at food for the nutritional composition of what it is made of. And the best approach, in my personal opinion, when it comes to creating a way of living that you can actually sustain and live with, that's not based off of just quick fixes and fads, it's about being able to figure out a way of eating that works for you. That's the beauty of macros. Not a lot of people realize that, but no one set of macros is good or bad. It's about what works for you and your goals. And macros are a way to index how you eat. Whether you realize it or not, every day you are eating a certain amount of protein, carbs, and fat. And whether or not you are measuring them, it is a great tool, an extremely powerful tool for you to uncover ways to improve your nutrition and use the improvements in your nutrition to impact your physique. Paying close attention to your macros will have more of an impact on your physique than any amount of training in the gym. Here's the thing, you guys. Regardless of how disciplined you can be in the short term, that does not matter. It does not matter if you are eventually going to fall back on poor habits, because I have no doubt that so many of you have invested so much time and energy in learning a new way of eating. And it's like for any fad diet, like the whole eat this, not that approach. And the problem is they don't change your habits. It doesn't change how you look at food. And I strongly urge everybody watching this video to take a step back and to learn the skill of aware eating. Like by now, it's pretty clear that not all calories are created equal. You could have 200 calories of a candy bar versus 200 calories of raw almonds. And the difference between eating the correct amount of calories but at the wrong ratios of protein, carbs, and fat is going to have a big difference between feeling strong, feeling energetic, feeling lethargic, feeling just tired, not having the right amount of energy. And the thing is, macros give you a focused approach to reach your goals as opposed to just being all over the map and not having a game plan. And this approach is one that can be maintained for life while supporting a lifelong satisfying relationship with food. I'm going to repeat that. the macros approach is one that can be maintained for life while creating a lifelong satisfying relationship with food. I feel like so many people battle their food. And if that's you, if you feel like you're battling your food, if you feel like you just don't know what to eat, and every time it's like, okay, I had a good day, now I had a bad day, I had a good day, I had a bad day. If you're in that good day, bad day, black-white mentality, you really need to step back and educate yourself on macros. In order to understand macros, let's start with the universal concept of calories. So calories is pretty well understood. It is how much energy a given food has inside of it. And a calorie is simply, it's a unit of energy that describes how much energy a certain food provides. And we tend to associate calories with food, but I'd like to paint an analogy for you guys to help expand your understanding. So for instance, a gallon of gasoline, we are used to fueling our cars with gasoline because our cars need energy to drive them. And people don't realize is that a gallon of gasoline contains 31 million calories. Let's step back and think about that. 1 gallon of gasoline contains 31 million calories. And that's what your car needs to move. But humans need energy to survive. We need energy to breathe, to pump blood, to generate enzymes and metabolize our food, and to grow our hair, and for women that grow babies inside. Like, we need energy to live. And the number of calories in a food is essentially the potential energy that that food has. So a food being high in calories isn't a bad thing. It just says this food has this much potential energy in it. And the problem is when people just start eating too much. Because just like you wouldn't go to the gas station and put the gas pump in your car, and then once your gas tank is full, you wouldn't keep pumping and pumping and pumping the gas, because that gas is just going to be going all over the ground and it's wasteful. But like in our bodies, if we continue to eat and eat and eat and eat and eat, like that extra fuel, that doesn't get spilled over onto the ground, that gets stored onto our body as body fat. And what we need to understand is that regardless of where that nutritional energy came from, whether you ate an apple, whether you ate a steak, whether you ate a candy bar, all nutritional energy is a measure of how much potential energy that given food has. By definition, 1 calorie is the amount of energy required to raise the heat of 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree Celsius. So it's about how much energy. It's a way to quantify how much energy that something is going to give off. Now, unfortunately, the body is going to metabolize and use that energy in a way that's not as simple. It's not very one-dimensional as one would think. So the thing is, when we eat food, we need to understand that protein, carbs, and fat all have differing amounts of energy in them, where protein and carbohydrates have 4 calories per gram and fat has 9 calories per gram. And the way I look at food based off of its energy density. It's how much energy am I going to get as a result from consuming this food, as opposed to people looking at food as, oh my gosh, I feel like people just don't look at food the correct way. Food is fuel. Let me repeat that. Food is fuel. And if you begin to look at food through the lens of how much fuel and energy is this going to provide my body with versus how much energy my body needs, and then knowing how to break that down amongst your macros of protein, carbs, and fat, that is the beginning and the basis for following this type of protocol. Now, I'm being a little long-winded right now just because I want to explain more holistically, more all-encompassing of how this works, and give you guys a more general understanding, as opposed to just coming at you being like protein, carbs, fat, 4 calories per gram, 4 calories per gram, 9 calories per gram. Like, it's a lot more to it than that. Now, for some, the idea of calculating macros is a no-brainer. Like for me, it's a no-brainer. It's straightforward. It's pretty easy math. But for others, the idea of trying to tie math to every meal is a nightmare. And I get it. For those of you who are in that that just really overwhelmed. Oh my goodness, this is a nightmare. It's overwhelming. You're already stressed out about food, and the idea of tying numbers to food, that just like F's you up in the head. I get it. But the thing is, counting macros, all it means is that the number of grams of protein, carbs, and fat consumed in a day are tracked. Now, bodybuilders and fitness enthusiasts are experts on this. I'm sure you can find a million. You can't like go on YouTube without finding some fitnessy person talking all about this. And I think that a lot of people have mastered this art. However, but for the general public, it does mean buying a food scale. It does mean taking the time to calculate and measure out your food portions. And last but not least, the mental capacity to carry this out in the real world. Let me repeat that. The mental capacity to carry this out in the real world. This isn't just an academic exercise, you guys. This is something that needs to be actually carried out in the real world. And the thing is, while this may be overwhelming at first, you guys, I get it. It can be overwhelming. This is the most strategic, methodical, scientifically sound approach to sustainable long-term health. So before you want to just like, I just want to go intuitive, oh, I just wanted this, I just wanted this, just eat more of this, just eat more of that, it's worth taking a look at figuring out how to tie in what your macro goals should be for your specific goals. And the thing is, macros are something that can be continuously manipulated, and they're not targets that are static. They are not something that are set in stone and never change for the rest of your life, because you cannot expect to sustain the results that you achieve in general in the beginning, because fat loss isn't linear. And I think we all know that. The thing is, you guys, in order to make sustained progress towards your goals, your macros may need to be adjusted at several points in time. And we can talk about that in another video about macro adjustments, how and when to make them, and so on and so forth. But just because one set of macros worked for you at one point in your life does not necessarily mean that that set of macros is going to work for you again, because there may be times in your life where higher fat and lower carbs works better for you. There may be times in your life where lower fat, higher carbs works better for you. And the reality is, macronutrient tracking, it provides a unique opportunity to index. It's a unique opportunity to quantify a set of parameters and use them to gauge and measure your progress towards your goals. So, for instance, just because I am saying we are using a macros approach, the macros approach does not necessarily mean high protein, low fat, moderate carb. It doesn't mean that. All it means is that you are gauging and indexing what your macros are for your needs and your goals. Does that make sense, you guys? Because people think like, oh, I'm on a macros plan, that automatically means high protein. High protein can help under certain circumstances. There are certain amounts of protein that you should consume for certain goals. But if it isn't your goal to maintain lean muscle mass, if you just want to maintain like healthy, positive nitrogen balance, be able to allow your body just to support regular needs for DNA synthesis, just basic needs, you don't necessarily need to be on a bodybuilder high protein diet. But like if you have specific goals, then there may be reasons why you need to make adjustments in that thing. So the thing is, you guys, a lot of people truly think that they're healthy, but they may be blindly unaware that they are missing key and vital nutrients as a result. And I think it's unfortunate that a lot of people get their information from like the latest fitness model turned scientific nutrition guru, because the thing is, it's like a bodybuilding.com forum is good to get information and feedback, but that's not science, you guys. That's feedback off of what people are doing it, and it's interesting to read those types of things. But the thing is, it's so crucial to start making guided decisions based off of scientifically based guidance. And unfortunately, I feel like there's so much like whisper down the lane in the fitness community where it's just kind of like one coach came up with one plan with one set of macros, and then everybody else wants to be a coach, and they just copy and perpetuate those things, and they're not really dialing in people's macros for their goals based off of what they need. You guys, Not everybody needs to be at 1 gram of protein per pound body weight. Some people do, some people don't. Some people need more, some people need less.